What up, though, One Pride? This is the Roar of the Lions UK podcast, the podcast where One Pride goes worldwide. My name is Antony Fitzpatrick. I am the Ant-Man, the Brit with grit, and this is another Friday night. So you know what that means. It is time for the Friday night Q&A, a period of an hour or so where you get to come in and ask me questions about things, and I will do my best to issue responses. Got any questions about the Lions, about college football? I am an open book, and I shall do my best to answer. I've started work on the new collegiate season this week. There is a lot of work to do, but almost my favourite part of the year, learning about all the new players and refreshing myself with all the teams and everything. So it is one of my favourite parts of the season as well. If not an absolute ton of work, but hopefully in a few weeks, the College Football Podcast will be good to go, and we will start breaking down some of the teams for you as we go forward. Anywho, hope you are all doing well. Hope you're having a good weekend so far, or start to it. If you've chosen to spend a bit of your evening with me, I very much appreciate it. Let's get all the housekeeping and stuff out the way first, while people roll into the building and the questions roll in. I've had a few submitted in advance this week, so that'll give me some stuff to go on with in the meanwhile. But generally, I'm always quite surprised at how much chatter I get in here, so appreciate you all. In terms of the main podcast, our last show this week was looking at the Detroit Lions undrafted free agency class. So if you want to know a little bit more about the UDFAs, then please go check it out. It's in depth. It is good stuff. We like our outsiders here. We back these guys to the hilt. Don't forget to like and subscribe to everything: Twitch, YouTube, all that good sort of stuff. We really appreciate you all for doing that, and we appreciate all of you who support the pod, as we say consistently again and again and again. We're part of Lions Nation Unite as well, so also give that a follow. Don't forget we're monetized, all that good sort of stuff. Got a tip jar if you want to help us that way, great. But first and foremost, as you know, we just love having you in the building to talk football with us, because we are Brits and we do appreciate you Americans taking the time to chat with us instead of one of the many thousands of Detroit Lions podcasts over there. Appreciate you all. In terms of little bits we've got coming up to mention, I don't know what the main pod's doing next week. We got kind of a little bit of a gap in the schedule there, but we will be back on Monday. Schedule release is gonna be next Thursday, so we will be doing a week on Monday, our breakdown, or starting the breakdown on our schedule releases, as always. For those who don't know, we break down the schedule into 2 lots of 7 unique opponents. The first 7 unique opponents will play the second 7, and we break down each team by team, their draft classes, the way they're looking going into the season. We do a deep dive on the schedule and give some early predictions for that. That takes up 2 weeks, and then after that we have a special surprise for you. We have Joel Waltkowski coming onto the show. He has authored a book, Honolulu Blues: How Loving a Losing Football Team Created a Winning Man. It is all about Lions history and a big adventure along the way in terms of Lions fandom and how it shapes you as a person. And hasn't Lions fandom shaped us all? I'm sure we've all, in some way, shape or form, been affected by the Lions at some point. So that is going to be good fun. And then we'll be deep into the off season at that point. So we'll come up with some other stuff as we do. As I mentioned, the College Football Pod should be back within the next week or two, trying to line up some guests for that, and then we'll start off with the conference previews as always. Been burying my head in CUSA this week, and yeah, we like to shout out the small conferences and all that sort of stuff. So yeah, I'm full to the brim of information on the CUSA about now, and those are always good fun. We didn't get a chance to do them last year, but we will this year. And I know, Mile Marker, I've seen you in the chat. You have asked about Stanford and bits like that. We will do some ACC stuff. Stanford do actually have some draftable prospects next year, so this might not be the worst year in the world for them. We will see. I think that is about everything housekeeping and stuff wise, so I'll just give a shout out to anyone who's in right now. Mile Marker, as I say, is in the building. He goes, good evening, Pride, hope you're doing well, Mile Marker. Ken Stouder is in the building. He goes, hi Ant, sup Brit with grit. Hey, what's up with you as well? Appreciate you've been in the building. Grandizer is in the building. Hope you're doing well, Grandizer. He goes, question, which actor played the best Doctor Who since it started? Oh, sorry, you said lines and college questions. I'm going to be very controversial here amongst my British compadres, but I don't like Doctor Who, so none of them. You can come at me in the comments, whatever. I have never been a Doctor Who fan, so it's just not really been my bag, even from when I was younger. And then when they rebooted it up, obviously David Tennant's been the favourite one, but yeah. Unfortunately, I'm pulling a Matt on this one. I don't like something that's very popular. Usually that's Matt's bag, so apologise, Grandizer, but none of them, but appreciate it. You can ask non-Lions and College questions if you want, but, you know, just keep it within reason. That's it, yeah, Ken is in the building, good to see you. Gavis Goncon is in the building, hope you're doing well, thank you for dropping in. Upacorn goes, greetings from the UP, hope you're doing well in the UP there, hope the weather's settled down a bit. I know from what I've seen it's been a bit crazy over there recently, so I hope everyone's doing well and is safe in that regard, and appreciate you, Grandizer, for throwing all the info out there as always. Is that Dan in the building? Lions Talk Live goes, what up all, hope you're doing well, Dan. Hope you're having a nice weekend. Hope you're not too busy. But good to see you in here as always. Gavis Gongo goes, I've been hanging with my new Titans fans. Did you realise they may have drafted 5 starters from this draft? Yeah, they potentially did. They had a very good draft. There were a lot of drafts I liked this year. Carolinas was good. Titans was good. I've got a question here from Grandizer, and I may as well go into this one right away because this kind of figures into it a little bit. But Grandizer asked about my mock draft and how my mock draft played out. How many players did I get that I mock drafted and how many did I not? And the answer is, so in my mock I had, I'm not going to do all the trades and everything, but I had 10 players selected in the end, and I got one of them. Which was Eric Hunter, but I drafted Eric Hunter. I didn't have him as an undrafted free agent, so technically he doesn't count, but I still got him. So yeah, I got Eric Hunter on the Lions, and I predicted we were going to draft him. So, and a lot of teams did want him, so I am going to count it as a win. But outside of that, the teams who got most of the players I liked were Indianapolis and San Francisco. Out of the drafted ones anyhow. So the Colts got AJ Halsey and Seth McGowan, which was probably the most heartbreaking haul of teams that got players that I liked. I loved AJ Halsey, did the tape breakdown on him, thought it was a terrific player. And then Seth McGowan, like the comments that I can't remember the lady's name who owns the Colts, but she had a great quote for Seth McGowan, which was just like, are you ready to tell the world to go themselves or something like that, or that they've made a big mistake. It was a bit of profanity laden stuff, but we don't mind that over here in England. So, but they were dead excited about having Seth McGowan on the roster, so I'm jealous of Indy for that. But yeah, they got Halsey and McGowan. The 49ers got Grayson Holton and Mikhail Kamara, so basically my defensive line prospects that I loved, the 49ers got them all. And I hate the 49ers because of what they did to us a few years ago. So, yeah, the 49ers got Holton and Kamara, although they got Kamara as a free agent, which was crazy. I think they got him as a UDFA. Yeah, they did get him as a UDFA, which was crazy. But they drafted Grayson Holton. The other ones, Maxi Iheanacho went to Pittsburgh. Justin Jolie went to Denver. Haynes King went to Carolina. And then the other two, Josh Moten and DeAndre Proctor, have not landed with a team yet. They are still UDFAs, so that's where that landed. But yeah, Indy and San Francisco, Grandizer, they got the majority of my players out of the final mock draft that I did. The college one might have been a little bit different. I can't remember if it was or not, but obviously you guys got the big one. You got Kyle Louis, who was my favourite player in the draft, period, and the Dolphins have him, so you better look after him, because I will not be happy if you don't look after him. I was devastated that he wouldn't come to the Lions, so especially as we picked Rolder over him. But hey ho, it is what it is. Oh, excuse me. DC Smithers is in the building. He goes, good morning, Ant. Hope you're doing well. I'm doing very well, thank you. I've just got something stuck in my throat, so bear with me one tick. Oh, excuse me. I know you tuned in for a Q&A, not to see me chugging water, but there we go. Not gonna die. That's it. Courier say good, and she loved Seth McGowan there. Like, she was so hyped about it, and I kind of loved it in a way. It's a redemption story for him, so I hope he kicks it out the park with the Colts. I think that he will. But yeah, that is how my mock draft ended out. So yeah, but I got Hunter, so I'll take that. You know, it is what it is. But I think he'll make our roster, and I think he will be around for some time to come. As of yet, so I don't mind it too much. Right, where were we there? Dolphins had a good draft, to be fair. Chris Johnson. I mean, they had an up and down one to start with, but I really liked it overall. So, you know, good job there, Grandizer. Question, is it true the Colts may trade Anthony Richardson? If so, depending on the price, would you want the Lions to trade for him? If so, what would you offer? I think I'm probably on record as saying I would. I think I would. I think there's a lot of upside with him. He's not going to start here right away. The trouble is, Anthony Richardson doesn't fit our offense. Our offense is designed for a pocket passing quarterback, and it's all about timing and rhythm and stuff like that, and kind of bits that Anthony Richardson's a bit different to. So I don't know if he'd work schematically in terms of upside, and he's probably not going to cost that much either, I wouldn't say. I would like the value because I still think there's a ton of untapped potential with him. He's still really not developed as a player yet. So he can offer you the upside. It's just, can you fit him into what the Lions do, and can you do something within long term? I'm not sure that they can. I don't know about the strength of our quarterback coach. And I know Goff has done well, but guys outside of that tried to develop Hooker, guys like that. It just hasn't worked. So I'm not 100% sure whether we'd be able to recover him or not. But if the price was right, colour me intrigued. If it was like a day 3 pick next year, right, I probably would take a look at it and do it. If it's like a 5th, a 6th, or a 7th or something. Maybe not a 5th. Maybe like a 6th with a conditional bit attached to it if he plays so much, because who knows, he might get injured. You know, Goff might get hurt and we might need to play him. So I would do it, and I would attach conditions to it. Like, yeah, conditional 6th that might be a 5th or something like that. Well, I would be intrigued about it. But again, I don't think he fits us, so I don't think they'd do it. It is what it is. 3 ads already. I put minimum ads on this Grandizer, so you shouldn't have issues. I apologise if so, but, you know, I don't do commercials during the show or anything like that. We go and we don't do any commercials, so I have to put it on. But I always put it on low ads. I don't put medium ads or high ads. I put it on low, so there's not that many there. So hopefully you don't get too many more. Gavis Gongongers, Carnell Tate, Keldrick Falk, Anthony Hill Jr., Fernando Carmona, Pat Coogan. Is that not insane? That's good. It's very good, especially for a team like them who aren't going to compete right away. Like, Carmona's played a ton of left tackle and a ton of left guard, so you can play him at either or. Pat Coogan's just insanely underrated. One of the best picks on day 3, period. I don't know who their starting centre is, but Pat Coogan could give him a go. Plus, he's played at guard at Notre Dame, so he could also play on the interior as well. So, absolutely. And then the front 3, yeah. Like, they'll all start eventually, and they'll be big players. So, they had a great draft there. I do believe in that. So, yeah, apologise about the adverts. I will check that next time, but I put it on minimum. So, yeah, again, hopefully it doesn't affect it too much. But my apologies. Detroit Lions News. Brad Holmes believes Lions' depth in trenches is better than ever. Yeah, I don't believe that in the slightest, but, you know, you've got to when the season's coming round. Every season could be better than other. Like, who was it this year? Sorry, I was reading about it this week. Oh, Lord, what was it now? There was one particular college team, I'm trying to think who it was, but their D-line coach was talking about how it was the best unit he'd potentially ever had, and most of his guys have just been drafted. And it's like, I don't think it could be any better than you've just had it, but every iteration is better. It's just coach speak. Every year something's better than it's ever been before, and it's historic. We love to throw these buzzwords around, so we'll see. The proof is in the pudding. I don't listen to this coach speak no more. Like, today, people have been going on about Petsing and, you know, always a great communicator. Goff already feels more comfortable, all this sort of stuff. Yeah, that's fine, but I need to see it on the field. I need to see that Drew Petzing is a good strategical, you know, coach, that he can adapt in game, that he can adapt to his opposition, all that sort of stuff. Like, all this mouth speak and coach speak now, I just ignore it. I don't take any interest in it whatsoever. It's like, I've heard it all before, and, you know, we are where we are. So, yeah, that is what that is. Brad's an idiot. Sorry, he's lazy as fuck. I don't think he's an idiot. Like, he's human. He has his flaws. He has his flaws. Yupagon goes, not only is our O-line deeper, but it will even better over the next few years. Our floor this year is last year's ceiling. I mean, hopefully. The only thing with the O-line is it needs to develop cohesion. That's the only thing. As soon as it does, as long as it does, yeah, I agree, we'll be absolutely fine there. And like you say, the depth is really, really, really good now. You think you've got guys like Frazier and Wareham and guys like that who are going to provide some good depth in there. So I certainly think I feel a lot more confident about the depth this year. I do. I've complained most years that our O-line depth has been like paper thin, and it has been, but this year I do feel a bit better about it. So maybe they're not done yet. It would be nice to get another centre in as well. I know Scruggs is there, but I think just having a specialist centre in to back up Mays would be good, and then I'd be happy. I think the guards are absolutely fine. But Cade Mays was part of why Cam Ward got sacked 55 times last year. I mean, it's all in retrospect, right? Like, we don't know fully why these guys... It's like in college, you know, like, some people will take a look at college players' stats and use it to tell a story, but sometimes it just doesn't really tell a story. You know, there are reasons sometimes why people do really bad. It's all about having the line around them and, you know, all that. I mean, when you look at what the Titans were putting out last year, like, their tackles were atrocious. You had Dan Moore at left tackle. You had J.C. Latham, who is basically, you know, a rookie at right tackle. I think he was a second-year guy in there. Obviously, you've got Zeitler, who's about 35 years old, who's fine. And let's not forget, like, Cade Mays... Sorry, I'm talking about the wrong damn team. I'm talking about the Panthers. My bad. Completely and utterly. Uh-oh, that's my first boo-boo. Which is why you do your research beforehand, which is why I like to do the questions. But the same thing kind of applies to... In fact, yeah, you've really done me on that one. Yeah, that's not my fault. Cade Mays was not part of the reason why Cam Ward got sacked 55 times last year, because he wasn't Cam Ward's centre. Oh, Lord. Alright, okay. We've got that out the way. Make me, you know, good Lord. My credibility's just been shot now. Adverts aren't UANT, it's YouTube since late winter. Oh, in that case, boo to YouTube. I don't like to do the whole ad stuff on here. You can put them on your video, but I tend not to, especially for these, because it's more of a chilled out, relaxed environment and not an official thing. So, yeah, it is what it is. Matt Arash put it on high ads lol, constantly getting interrupted. Yeah, YouTube's just a pain in the arse thing. So, you'll get your questions answered and not many ads in there. I sort of answered that question. Yeah, no, it's fine, Gaviscon. Don't worry about it. It's all good. I should have known, but you got me there. So that's why we do these. Right, I did have some other questions, so I don't think I've got anything in at the moment. Moving into college briefly, and Mild Mark asked, because he knows how I love positionless players and players who move positions, I'm sure he deliberately asked me this question to provoke some of the feelings inside me about this. But the question was basically, what causes college coaches to move the positions of their players? Are players not recruited for specific positions? So obviously in college, a lot of players change their positions. They don't finish where they start, and this is kind of a fun rabbit hole to dive down, because there's not a certain answer for this. It's basically, there's a lot of different reasons as for why players will move positions in college, and it's not all necessarily down to the recruiting or bad coaching or stuff like that. So a few of the ones I've got down here that I would have mentioned, one of the most obvious ones, players who come up with athlete designations. Some players simply come out of high school and they don't have a position they've decided on. Lots of players in high school play multiple positions. They play offense, they play defense, and they don't really want to know what they come up to the next level. Like when Travis Hunter came up to Colorado, he was designated as an athlete, although he played both sides of the ball. So that's one of the most simple reasons why they moved, is they come up because they've got a skill set, but they're not entirely sure where it's going to be at. So, coaches will test them out in spring training and try and find their best position. But that's one of the big reasons why they might get moved around, and maybe not what they were specifically recruited for. It's just the designation of athlete. It's positionless when they get there. Again, as I've mentioned, you will get multi-positional players in high school. So, guys might declare themselves as a safety coming up from high school. They may have played receiver, who knows, but they get up to the collegiate level, and when you get here, coaches find your skill set will change. You've got a skill set that's better suited to another role, maybe not the one you were specifically recruited to. So again, it's just sometimes it's the not knowing of the position when they get there. So that's one of the big reasons. Coach preferences I've put down as another reason. So the example I always use here is Levi Onwuzurike. So obviously when he was at Washington, he was defensive tackle, pass rushing defensive tackle, and a very good one. But I remember him when he talked his interview about his college career after he came up to the Lions and that, and they talked about some of the lack of productivity he'd had in his later years at college, specifically because his positional coach and the defensive coordinator moved him to nose tackle, and they moved him to nose tackle because they wanted someone really athletic to play the position. That is true, you can go and read that, I'm not making that up, but because they wanted an athlete like Levi, who was, incredibly maneuverable, highly athletic, that's what they wanted at their nose tackle position. It was a preference of the coach. I don't know whether the staff changed when he was there or not, but that's why his stats were not the best when it came out of college. And he was moved for a stupid reason. They put him there just because he was very athletic. Some teams like their big chunky nose tackles, run stuffers, that's what they're there for. Levi, guys like him, they're not designed to take on double teams in the run game and do all that sort of stuff, but they thought his athletic ability would overcome that, and it didn't. But that's why they moved him round. It was simply the coach's preference to do so. Some coaches, they like specific traits at specific positions, and they will move them, and sort of head coaches will give them the leeway to do that. So that was one of the ones I always think of in regards to that. Injuries. So injuries can impact in many different ways, whether it be injuries to players forcing them to change positions because it changes the way they play the game, or injuries to depth charts which require players to change position to do with a shortage, because you only get so many scholarships, you've only got so many players, you can't just keep bringing players up to the roster, and sometimes you've got to fiddle around with it a little bit. Now, the big one that comes to mind injury-wise, so I don't know how far back people know, but Richard Sherman, when he was in college at Stanford, he was a freshman All-American wide receiver for Stanford. Had a really good freshman year, knocked out about 600 yards, 3 touchdowns as a true freshman, I believe it was. He then suffered a serious knee injury, which kept him out for quite some time, and when he came back, he asked to move to corner because the pressure that when you're playing receiver, all those cuts, the really sharp cuts and turns and everything that you do as a receiver, the sharp comeback routes, stuff like that, it puts more pressure on the knee than playing at corner. I'm not saying you don't have to do that at corner, but in terms of the amount of stress you put on it, it's harder at receiver, and he didn't want to agitate that injury anymore, so he asked to move to defensive back. Which, fit his skill set better post-knee injury. He had a little less mobility to work with, and he translated that into a position change, and obviously the rest is history. He went on to win a Super Bowl and be one of the best DBs of the 2010s, period. And that was by a freak injury that sort of happened. So sometimes it's player request as to why, and again, injuries, if you injure a certain part of yourself, you can't work to a degree, you might have to move position to minimise the danger to re-injuring yourself, etc. As I say, like Richard Sherman did, he's always the one to remember there. Again, depth chart issues, for me, that's probably one of the big ones, why a lot of players change. You could end up getting buried on a depth chart and not finding any game time, and if you have injury concerns on your depth chart and you're short elsewhere, you can move position if you have a skill set, because a lot of positions are translatable. And I think especially someone in college now who is a good example of this, the new California wide receiver Ian Strong. Ryan loves him, I love him. He's going to be one of the better receivers coming to the draft next year. He's been at Rutgers the last few years. Rutgers recruited him as a safety. He was 6'3", 210 pounds. Like, that's a big safety, but in his first spring training when he got there, they had a massive receiver shortage, injuries, and there was just a complete lack of depth at the position, and they were pretty good at safety at the time, so they asked him to move. Again, you think 6'3", 210, that's a really good build for a receiver, especially a physical outside receiver like he is. At high school, he got a ton of interceptions. He was quite a good ball hawk, so he had good hand skills already, like getting the football, interception, stuff like that, so it translates to a receiver. He was quite an agile safety as well in high school, so the movement skills were there. Obviously, you've got the mindset of a DB as well, can kind of pencil you into doing the receiving stuff. They moved him to receiver, and it took a little while, but he took to it eventually, and that was just purely a depth chart move. He'd have been a safety otherwise, and no doubt a damn good one at Rutgers. But it was, again, depth chart issues that forced him to move. I mean, you go back even further than that. Guys like Antony Barr, he was a running back in college, couldn't get into UCLA's team, and he transferred to linebacker. Jim Mora moved him, because you think running backs, linebackers, you take a lot of contact, fighting through blocks, tackles, all that sort of stuff. You've got to have good movement, good feet, which Antony Barr translated into being a really good blitzing linebacker, because they had none on the depth chart. They had none on their depth chart, and they were stuffed full of running backs. They moved him, and it was a genius move by Jim Mora to do so. So, yeah, I think, depth chart issues is certainly a big reason why they will move them as well. So again, it's kind of a long answer to that, and there's probably quite a few more reasons as well, but like I say, primarily while they'll move them, designation when they come up from high school is athlete, multi-positional players trying to find where they fit in best at the next level, coach preferences when they get them. Don't forget, coaching staffs change while kids are at school as well, so how they view them can change, and then injuries, depth chart issues, moving guys around. That's why they do it, really. And sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. For me, as long as they're settled before they get to the NFL and they've had a few years playing the new position, I don't mind. So that's it. And of course, evolution of scheme as well, and that translates to the NFL question, because you asked about the NFL level as well. I think there's a lot less of these issues that happen when you come to the NFL, like designation, and that you pretty much know what you're playing when you come up to the NFL. But the evolution of schemes are a lot more complicated now. They are a lot more demanding. Offenses are becoming more innovative. You've got to have more innovative solutions to them, hence why positionless players are becoming such a big thing. More running backs who are receivers, which you never really used to have. Tight ends who are specialist pass catchers as well. Gadget guys, there's a lot more gadget guys knocking around, and you've got to kind of adjust to that on defense as well. So Athletic profile, especially, is a big thing in the NFL. That's why they'll move positions when they come up to the NFL. Athletes, they think, can, as long as you're athletically gifted, they think that they can teach you the fundamentals of it, which I don't agree with. But I think evolution of scheme is a big reason why they change in the NFL, because I like specialists. I like guys who play one position and kick ass at it, but the league doesn't see it that way. It's kind of the same with soccer over here. When I was a kid over here in England, we played 4-4-2. We had a big man up front and a quick pacey striker, and you'd play long balls up to the big man, he'd flick it on, your pacey striker would go through and score. You don't get that anymore. You get positionless players, false nines, a lot of strikers who play as wingers, and the game has just become so overtly complicated, too complicated for me. And the same problem's happening in football. A lot more people are becoming positionless. Fullbacks are now wingers. Centre-backs pass a lot better than they used to. They're basically central midfielders. It's just schemes becoming very complicated, and then it's just a rollover effect which gets worse and worse and worse, and forces more of these positional changes, and I don't like it. Especially for us at soccer, we used to have really good number 9s, really good goal scorers. We don't anymore, because you can't get away with doing it anymore. The game has changed from that, and it's become obsolete almost. So, yeah, I fear the same with the NFL. Sometimes it's just too complicated, but it is what it is. So hopefully that kind of answers it to a degree. I know it was a long-winded response to it, but I thought it was interesting. And there's a ton of really interesting examples of guys changing in college as well. Michigan guy Sam Still, he was a receiver, wasn't he? Transferred to corner. That worked out pretty well for him. Again, his was sort of a skill set thing. Receivers, corners, both have got to be really nifty. Both have got to run routes well, be quite physical. So it's a positional change you can make if you are good enough. So yeah, I hope that answers that mile marker. Grandad's a good question. How does this year's roster compare to last at this junction? How excited or upset were you at this point after the draft? Last year? I vaguely remember... Was I quite excited after last year? I can't remember. I would like to say I was quite excited last year, but I didn't like the draft last year, really. Like all the trade-ups and the changes and bits like that. I wasn't most sold on Tyleek either. Obviously Ratledge was a good one, but I think it was the kind of same as this year. I was a bit meh about the draft. I wasn't like, we've hit a home run and we're going to be amazing. So I would say I'm probably about on par. Like, the drafts mean less for Detroit now, because the rookies aren't expected to contribute as much early. Like, in the early years, all our rookies would play all year because we had no depth chart. Now it's harder for the rookies to get on the depth chart, so my mood is not as affected by the draft like this year. Outside of, even Blake Miller might not start this year if Borum gets the nod. Derek Moore might not even start behind DJ Wonnum this year. I mean, potentially you could look at nobody starting from this year's draft class on day one, and it's not a bad thing. McCreary might take some time in the slot before Abney goes in there. I don't want him to, but there's no position for him on the outside, so I'm a bit meh after the draft. My problem with the roster, and people always take this as a big critique I have of the team, and I've been very negative about them, and I'm not trying to be, but my problem's not about the personnel on this team. My problem's about their mentality and whether they've got the mentality to win or not. And this is a position I've held for a long time. Goes ever back to that Washington game. Like, our team's built, and was built in the first few years, has been a disrespected underdog. People not respecting us, people thinking, oh, it's just Detroit, they're a bad team, they're forever going to be bad. They kind of just writ us off and, thought we were just been a bit spunky, but we were going to go back to where we were. And the team thrives when it's written off. Like, it does so well when they don't expect you to win. This team will win. It will prove you wrong. It seems to like to have a point of proving people wrong, but there comes a time in every rebuild where you stop being an underdog and you start being a contender, And that happened for us at the end of the 24 season when we won 15 games. And we, coming off the back of an NFC Championship appearance, you win 15 games, you go to the playoffs, you're against Washington at home. Now, people instantly go, injuries, yada, yada, yada. Okay, I'll take that into account. But we were expected to win that Washington game. We were no longer an underdog, and we no longer have the right to call ourselves an underdog, because we're not. We're a highly talented team with one of the best young cores in the league, a very good quarterback, a great head coach. We have got a lot going for us, and we lost. Now, don't get me wrong, in the playoffs, losses happen. Any given Sunday, you can be knocked out by a bad team if you just have one bad performance. But that was the first, acid test as to how they work as a favourite, how they're not an underdog anymore, and they failed it. And okay, that's fine. You move on to last year. Now, obviously, you start off the gates a little slow against the Packers, etc. But, you start to win games, you give yourself a shot, but then you get to the back end of the season and you're struggling to make the playoffs, and you are, at the back end of that season, we're needing to win games, and our playoff hopes are struggling, and you are in games that you should be winning. Pittsburgh is the one that always comes to mind. We get Pittsburgh at home. It's a big game for us. You win that, you pretty much guarantee yourself a playoff spot, or you make it so much easier for you. And they were not a good team last year. I don't care what anyone says. They were a poor-ass team. They come to your home when you're struggling to get in the playoffs and you need to put a good performance down, and they shirked that responsibility. They froze. And that wasn't the only game last year. Games they were expected to win, we lost. And that is the pressure of expectation. We didn't even make the playoffs last year. Now, my concern is, and when they did play well last year, I'm going to prefix this with, when they did play well, it was when they started getting written off again. And you listen to the players and their interviews. Hutch did an interview. Oh, everybody's given up on us now. Like, we're not a favourite anymore. This is where our backs are against the wall. This is where we play our best. No, it's like they instantly, all the players are like, oh, we're getting disrespected. We'll prove them wrong. That's their default go-to, is to be an underdog and to act like they're underdogs. And, you're not an underdog against Pittsburgh at home when the playoffs are on the line. You are a favourite. You are expected to roll them. And we lost. And, I'm worried about their ability to work as winners. As favourites. People might say we're an underdog this year. We're fourth place. You're not an underdog anymore. I'm sorry. The Detroit Lions cannot call themselves an underdog anymore. We have one of the best young cores in the league, as I've mentioned. We've got a great coach. We've got so much good going on for us. And no, we're not perfect, but we are certainly not written off anymore. We are not a bunch of ragtag, going to work, hard-working, gritty guys who are looking to defy expectations. We have Super Bowl aspirations. So my worry with the roster is, mentally, do they have it in them when they're favourites and they've got teams... Because a lot of teams, they give us their best shot now. When teams come to Ford Field, they know they have to play their best game of the season to get a result against us. So when we're facing these scrappy teams who are kind of using our own DNA on us, and we're favourites, we're not adapting well to those situations. When the Commanders came in the playoffs, they weren't scared of nobody. They were unfavoured. No one fancied them. They didn't care. They didn't respect us in that way. They're like, we're going to come and we're going to kick your ass, and it's up to you to put us away, and we didn't. So that's my big thing right now. I'm not worried about the strength of the roster. I'm worried about the mentality. And that's not saying I think our team's bad. I love our team. I love it to death. It's just, you've been asked a question a couple of times now and you've given me the wrong answer. So I have a concern. Hopefully they put it to bed this year and we can be done with it. And we can show that as we are winners, we can act like winners. We can act like champions. You show me you can do that, I'm going to be absolutely fine with you. So... and that starts from day one of this season. Whoever it's going to be, you've got to put a marker down. You've got to act like one of the best teams in the league. Because on paper and on roster-wise, we are one of the best teams in the league. So, Yeah, again, that was a very long answer to that, but and don't get me wrong, I'm excited for next year. I want us to do it. I love Dan to death. I want, I want this more than anybody. I want us to get to the Super Bowl, so I will always be excited. But trepidation is the word I'd use as for this year. So there we're at. Question: was there a person to blame for not holding on to the first HBCU pick, James Houston? He's still on the Cowboys roster. I don't know how much of a role, but enough to stay on the 53. I do blame coaching for that. They don't like designated pass rushers. They like edges who can draw. Or they did. They've changed their tune a little bit now this year in this year's draft, but I've been again very vocal about how I think they've been drafting the wrong type of defensive lineman for the last few years, and they changed that strategy this year. So Houston may have survived this year. It's okay to have a designated pass rusher on your roster who doesn't do run defense or doesn't do coverage, because there's always a need for a guy who can rush the passer. So I do think the coaches should have given him longer. I don't think they took the injury fully into account, and he just overachieved so much to start with. I think he set unrealistic boundaries for himself, and people kind of were sucked in by it. They saw what he could do, and when he didn't do it immediately, and again, they screwed him around by dropping him into coverage and asking him to do lots of stuff he's not designed to do. And this is a problem I have with a lot of our defense. Like, a lot of our players are asked to do like, that's a thing we had about Patricia and Quinn. They were masters at that, but all these positionless player stuff we do with our guys right now, I'm kind of the same, but I'm hoping coaching's changed a bit this year. But I think coaching was a bit to blame. And Houston didn't, rediscover his form, so there is some on the player as well, but I think there's equal share. A lot of people just seem to, blame Houston and say he was rubbish when he came back, but I don't think he got as much of an opportunity as he should have done, so equal blame with that. Brad was given a presser whilst Bernard was getting picked by the Eagles. I don't think the Lions fans would have hated that pick, no. I don't know a lot of Lions fans who would have liked us picking Bernard, because he's never played football, and we've got too many development guys on the roster right now without putting another one in there, so I don't think Lions fans would have liked that specifically. iTowel is in the chat going, does Derek Moore become the full-time starter by the end of the year? In an ideal world, yes. I don't really want DJ Wonnum as my second starting edge, so ideally he becomes starting edge pretty quickly, and he should, in realisticness. I think he will, as long as he proves himself against the run. He's got the pass rush chops, so I could see him, and they'll rotate them hopefully quite a bit. Hopefully Hutch will play a lot less this year, so I would like to think he will get some good snaps early, but certainly by the end of the year, yeah, because you don't want to extend Wonnum next year. Wonnum's here as a band-aid while Moore develops. Kind of the same with Borum with Miller. He's here while Miller develops, and as soon as Miller's ready to go and isn't looking back, he's expendable to the roster. So I would like to think he does, and I would hope that he does as well. Antony Lucas has a better shot at making the team. Yeah, everyone's preference. For me, I think Antony Lucas had a lot of God-given talent at school, and he was put on a very good team, and he didn't fulfill that. I don't like players like that who are given everything at school and don't. That's why I prefer small school guys who have to work the hard way. For me, Antony Lucas didn't take advantage of the opportunity he had there, but who knows, he may. There's positional opportunities available, and now that Hassanin's been given the IPP designation again, it means you can take more edge players, so that's increased the chances of these guys getting on. I don't know if he can carry the IPP into the season, possibly not, but if he does, then that'll increase the opportunity for someone like Eric O'Neill or Antony Lucas to make the roster. One of them is too good at setting the edge. Drafting edge was moronic. No, it wasn't. We needed an edge. DJ Wonnum's not good. DJ Wonnum's fine, but he's not a good edge 2. You want a much better edge 2 than that. He will be serviceable whilst Moore develops, and that's fine. But that's what he would. For me, he's serviceable. A lot of free agency signings this year are serviceable guys you can keep while your rookies develop, and there's nothing wrong with that. So Yeah, I think the same with Wareham and Boreham. They're both here whilst our rookies integrate into the team. That's their main role, and then they'll just become depth players, and then this time next year they'll be gone. So that is what that is. No worries, mile marker. As I always, I try to give as in-depth an answer as I can, so I appreciate it. But yeah, there's a lot of things that go into player positional changes. It's intriguing. There's a couple on that Minnesota team as well, which you will hear about in due course. And what about in rugby, playerless positions? I had to play hooker in one match in the 90s because the team I played for on the spot didn't have a player who wanted to play it. I don't know about rugby. Rugby's a lot less positionless. It's just, you've got wingers, you've got fly-offs, they're all specialists. Like, in rugby, you have to be a specialist at what you do. You're not going to have a flanker playing winger because you just can't. So no, I don't think you really get positionless players in rugby, but I don't do much rugby either, so maybe rugby aficionados will prove me wrong. But in rugby, it's generally what you get is what you get, and I like that. Your big, bulky guys in the middle for all your scrums and mauls and that, and then your quicker, more athletic guys on the wing, and that's how you keep it. Guys like Jason Robinson and that when they were younger, like one of the best wingers I've ever seen in my life, just because every time he got the ball, you knew he was going to score, because he was just so tricky with his feet, so athletic, so quick, so good with his hands. But yeah, rugby's like cricket. You're a bowler or you're a batter. You could be an all-rounder, but that's it. There's no doing that. There's no openers who play spin bowlers or out like that. There's nothing crazy. Nothing crazy. Contrasting goes, I lost a big chunk of confidence listening to Morton's first presser last year. Again, some people take these pressers into account. I don't. I just, what I see on the field is what matters. But I guess I feel more confident having Pets in here than... if we're talking confidence in coaching, obviously this is Kelvin's second year. And again, I'm a record. I thought Kelvin had a great start last year. I thought the first half of the season he adjusted in game. The defense looked noticeably better in the second halves of games when he adjusted, and some teams got at him, which was great. And then it just kind of felt like halfway through the season, whether injuries kicked in too much or not, that teams kind of figured him out and, out-strategized him, out-maneuvered him a little bit. But he's a first-year coordinator, so you're going to have growing pains. But he showed more than enough, and hopefully now he's taken a look at that second half of the season and taken a lot of lessons from it. So I think, Kelvin's going to be a lot better this year. I think the defense is going to be a lot better this year. And I do believe in Petsing more than Morton. And hopefully, if Petsing... Because the critical thing is that Petsing can do his job and take work off Dan Campbell's plate. I want Dan Campbell to be a head coach again. It felt like too many times last year our game management was atrocious. Especially the last 10 minutes of games, and we were huddling, taking all the time off the clock. There was too much of this. We wasted so much time last year when we were down in multi-score games, because it almost felt like Dan was doing that much with the offense that he forgot his responsibility as a head coach. Dan's better when he can be a head coach first and have an input with the offense, not leading the offense and then trying to have his input as a head coach. So it is absolutely critical that Petsing can call his plays, get good game management together so Dan can focus on the game entirely. But I've got more confidence in the coaching staff this year for sure. So from that point of view, yeah, and I've lost no faith in Dan whatsoever. I still 150% believe in Dan Campbell, and I will not be told otherwise. It will take a lot for my faith in Campbell to be shaken. A lot. Petsing lost 9 games in a row last year to finish the season. I'm concerned. I also think the O-line is not upgraded much. I mean, yeah, there's a lot of new bits on the O-line. Left guard is still an uncertainty. Penne's moving positions. Miller's a rookie. Boreham's meh. I get it. Mays has only had 1 year as a starter at centre. So there's a lot of rust to knock off them and to get them to the level they want to play at. Hence why I hope they're playing the pre-season so that they get some of that opportunity. But its ceiling is a lot better than last year's. It's just going to take a bit of time to get there, but I think that they will. Also, pets in last year, when you lose wide receiver 1, quarterback 1, running back 1, it's not easy to run an offense. And yes, he had his flaws. I'm not saying he's a perfect offensive coordinator, but he's had some good offenses in Arizona. He's had some good running games in Arizona, which is critical. And, he's also, again, not human. He's not human. He's human. So he's not perfect, but I think he's got enough to the table, and he's got a lot better unit to work with here, especially his offensive line. Offensive line means everything. Ben Johnson looks so good because his offensive lines have always been tremendous. That's why he invested in it so heavily at Chicago last year. He had a good offensive line so he can run his game plan. The second Ben gets a bad O-line, you'd see him struggle as well. So hopefully Petzing, with increased armament here, can do better. But, we'll see. Again, I'm going to wait until they start playing to make my thing there. So, and did you give your teams who had a 2026 rubbish draft, just a horrible draft, the top 5? Whose drafts didn't I like? I thought the Patriots draft was terrible. I didn't really like the Seahawks draft. I thought they could have done better. Who else didn't I like? They're the two that come to mind instantly. I didn't like the Seahawks or the Patriots drafts really whatsoever. Who else was in there? Some teams didn't have many draft picks, so it wasn't easy for them. Let me see. I may have done some notes here for it. I want to say the Browns one was really good. I like the Raiders one. Who didn't I like? I thought the Packers draft was awful. The Packers were terrible. They had the worst draft in the NFC North by a distance. I really liked the Minnesota. I thought the Minnesota draft was incredible. I thought the Chicago draft was meh. I thought the Packers draft was awful. So they certainly were not the best. The Rams one was really bad. The Rams one was one of the worst. I think going all the way down to, I think CJ Daniels was their best pick for me, the wide receiver. I don't like Max Clare. I think Ty Simpson was just a waste. Keegan Trost, meh, whatever. And they didn't pick CJ Daniels till like 200. So I didn't like the Rams one. I loved the Jaguars one. Everyone hates the Jaguars one, but I thought it was very good. But yeah, I think Seattle, Patriots, and the Rams were probably the worst ones. I'm just trying to think, was there anyone else? I didn't really like the Falcons one either. I think they reached on a couple of guys, and then their day 3 was atrocious. They picked Kendall Daniels really early, and then they picked up a random tackle from Washington I'd never heard of. So I don't think that was great. So yeah. They're probably the worst ones that I've had there. I think all the others were pretty good. I was quite high on quite a few of the teams' drafts this year, more so than usual. But those were my worst ones, Grandizer. Ken goes, I feel if we were not as injury prone as a team, we would have won 2 more games last year. Easiest schedule, we're number 1. Again, no such thing as an easy schedule. Teams get better. I don't put any stock in schedule whatsoever, so... Like, on paper this year, it's pretty decent, but you've still got to go to Buffalo. The NFC North is always difficult. You've got some tough... You've got to go to Carolina. I love Carolina. I think they're a very good young team who are certainly getting much better. So, it's not easy this year at all. Obviously, I like the home schedule. I think the home schedule is pretty good for us, but the away ones could be pretty frisky. And of course, you've got to come to Germany. The international games are never easy, but I figure from what I've heard, we're playing the Giants in Germany, so I would expect us to stomp them. I would at least hope we do, but international games are where the shocks can happen. But injuries are injuries. You've got to try and make your own injury look sometimes. The good thing this year is they've jettisoned a lot of injury-prone players that have gone and are not coming back. So we're giving ourselves the best possible chance the less injury-prone players you have, the more chance you've got of staying healthy. And yes, there is a lot of luck involved, but I like that we finally, like, Pascal's gone, Davenport's gone, guys that we just can't trust to stay healthy. And I think guys like Levi and Rakestraw, if any of them get injuries over the off-season, I would expect them to be gone, because I expect the tolerance policy on injuries to really go down, because we can't afford it anymore. Again, there's a lot of luck involved, but you can make your own luck by having healthy players on your roster, and that's what you do with that. I don't want the Lions to be the underdog. I want the Lions to be the big dog. Me too. Being underdogs was cool for a while. Now I want to be the team that people fear, and the team that I know can stomp an opposition into the ground, a good one, and put them away and just be like, yeah, you're good, we're better. That's what I want them to be this year. We need that killer instinct. I don't want to hear one player talking about how they're underdogs who have been forgotten about and who everyone's underestimating, cause no one is underestimating this team. Not one. Especially, fans might, coaches won't. You can be damn well sure everyone who's playing Detroit this year has a little mark around going, we've got to play one of our best games of the year to beat these guys. Because they are going to come and they're going to absolutely kick our ass with the style they play. And if we don't give the same physicality and more back, we're going to lose. The league does not view us as a pushover no more. And our players have got to get back into... They've got to get into championship mindset. Dominate. Like Penei Sewell. Pride of Detroit put out an article today going, who's the biggest star on this team? And... there's several ways you can answer this question, but my default was to go best player on the team. Obviously, star factor is worldwide renown and stuff like that. That's always receivers, quarterbacks, stuff like that. Best player on the team for me is Penei Sewell, and it's not even close. Like, there is nobody who's even near him. And the thing I love about Penei, you never see Penei on adverts. You never see Penei at other events and stuff like that. You never see Penei flaunting his image. Penei is training. He goes home, he has children, and then he comes to practice and he dominates. None of this has gone to his head. He's still acting like when he was drafted. He's still acting like a proper, like I say, Detroit player, a grit player. We have not achieved anything yet. Until we win a Super Bowl, we've achieved nothing. And he is just the most focused player on this team, who is just absolutely, completely and utterly dedicated to his craft. And he's on a surefire path to the Hall of Fame right now. Because he is still the same player he was when he got here. And he knows that nothing has been achieved by this team yet. And that's the right attitude to have. So, Penei's a big dog. If everyone can follow Penei's example, then we will be absolutely fine, and hopefully that comes across, because some of them are just getting a little bit too in the limelight, and I want to see less of them on TV and more of them in the training room. So, yeah, there is that. We have 7 holes on defense. IDL, 2 linebackers, 2 cornerbacks, 2 safeties. Potentially, it depends on how you look at it. I don't think we got that many holes. If you're talking about players to develop, I mean, you've got Hutch, who's going to start, McNeil, who's going to start, Tyleek, who's going to start, Jack Campbell, who's going to start, Barnes, who's going to start, DJ Reed, Terrion, who are going to start. I think you've got a lot of your starters there, and if you're saying that they're playing at an elite level right now and we've got holes, yes, okay, maybe, but we have the players there. I don't think we've got holes. We just need to see the best of these players all at the same time. Obviously, safety to start the year will be an issue. The linebackers, it's the depth. The starters are okay. You need a coverage guy in, but I don't think we've got 7 starting holes. We've just got some depth issues, but, I can understand. I can understand that. What was the question? You got a little lash on me. I can't remember. I've answered quite a few. NFL schedule release date announced. Yep, schedule release is next Thursday. We don't go live for the schedule release, but we'll discuss it the 2 weeks after. I want an easy team first. A lot of people said they want the Packers at home week 1 again. Give me the Saints at home. Someone like that. I want a tune-up game. Because our offensive line's going to take time to gel, and I would rather do that against some of our lesser opponents. Although I guess like away at Buffalo could be fun, but yeah, I'm more in favour of starting easy and working your way up in terms of the harder teams and doing it that way because that fits our timeline better. And Lions, who they are playing next year, how hard or easy is the Lions' schedule? Heard PMP say the Panthers have the 5th toughest. Again, I don't believe in strength of schedule. Every team can beat you on a given day. And you know, it's a coin flip. You just have to have one bad day, one bad series, one bad quarter, and it can do you up. In terms of the schedule, so your home slate is Chicago, Green Bay, and Minnesota. Obviously, then you've got New Orleans, Tampa Bay, New England, the Jets, the Titans, and the Giants. One of those will be in Germany, but Titans rebuilding, Giants rebuilding, Jets one of the worst teams in the league, Patriots, their head coach is hooking up with reporters and stuff. Like, they're a good team, don't get me wrong, but we got them at Ford Field, and you know that's going to be tough. Tampa Bay, they always play as tough. Saints, Vikings, Packers, Bears. It's not the easiest, but I would fancy us on every given day to beat every single one of those teams at home. There's no one I'm looking at going, we're the underdogs in that one. Even the Patriots. I would expect us to do well against the Patriots. The away schedule is a bit more different. So you got Atlanta, Buffalo, Carolina, obviously the 3 NFC teams, Miami, Arizona. So Arizona, consensus, one of the not best teams in the league right now. We traditionally always play them very well, and we always have. Miami are rebuilding, let's say, Grandizer. Let's be nice about the Dolphins. You're playing against Malik Willis, but they've traded a lot of talent away. They've had a very good draft, but they're certainly a rebuilding team who, and I think it would be fair to say Miami are not on our level right now, and I think that's a fair assertion. The Falcons are bad. They don't know what they're doing at quarterback. You know, they would be another team I would expect to beat. Your tough ones are Buffalo and Carolina. But Carolina is still a developing team. They play in a bad division. You know, I would expect us to beat the Panthers. Maybe not comfortably, but I would expect us to beat them. Buffalo's the one I look at, which is going to be tough. And then the NFC North games are not easy. But on paper, there are maybe 1 or 2 games here I wouldn't fancy us in. The rest I would fancy us to win. But there are so many factors that go into this that it's not a God-given thing. So, but on paper, we got a decent look at this. I'm expecting 11-12 wins as a minimum, and the team should as well. Especially with, you know, it's not the hardest one. But again, strength of schedule means nothing when the season comes around. We lose Jared Goff in the preseason, then all of a sudden that schedule means nothing because it's just so much harder to win games. So yeah, but I'm looking forward to the schedule. Schedule release is always fun, and it'll be nice to see who we're playing in Germany, so that will be fun. Yupicon goes, I think they want more to play Sam over the shoulder of one of them in a 4-3 or a 5-2. Yeah, we don't know what they're doing defensively yet. That is going to play a lot into it. So we will see. I will point you in the direction of our website, and I know you asked this, Grandizer. You asked last week about how the rookies fit into our scheme. Ash has written his article on it. I don't know if you've seen it, but go to our website. Ash has done an article on it because Ash is the formation nerd and the scheme nerd. I'm not as good with them, so he knows better than anybody. So if you want to take a look at how Ash thinks they'll deploy Derek Moore next year and what he'll bring in, then please go check that out. He is awesome at what he does. But you know, I think with Moore, I don't like positionless players. I don't like Sams. I don't like stuff like that. I think it's messed around with Derek Moore. Derek Moore's a blitzing linebacker. There's just a simple job for him: get him in the backfield. It's what he's good at. Just do that. Keep it simple, stupid. Kiss. I want them to keep it simple for Derek Moore as well. Just let him do what he's good at. Don't mess with his position, because I don't believe, I could be wrong, Michigan do employ outside linebackers, but that obviously was Jayshon Barham's job last year, not Derek Moore's. If you draft Jayshon Barham, then I could see him doing the Sam style stuff. Derek Moore for me doesn't do that. He's 6'3", 260. I want a guy who's a little bit lighter and shiftier than that to do that, but who knows? And I need to read Ash's article. I don't know exactly what he said about it, so we will see. But I'm certainly in favour of them with who you've got. I would like I would like more of a 3-4 look. I've been a more big fan because you've got Tyleek who will take that nose tackle role. You can lose Aleem at 3 tech. If Levi's healthy, you can use him at 3 tech. Like, that's what they're designed to do. I think it would be absolutely perfect. And then you've got Hutch and Barnes pinning the ears back off the edge and blitzing the passer more. And then, depending on what they do at linebacker, if Eric Hunter makes the team, he's a great A-gap blitzer. I think he would fit that scheme very well. But certainly Barnes and Hutch from those outside roles, I think would be very good. So I would like them to move 3-4 to fit the players we've got. But we need guys who can, you know, Moore has got a very good pass rush win rate, so you've got to get him up on the line, I think, rather than pin his ears back type thing. So I don't know. We'll see. We don't know what they're going to do yet, but they certainly need to change it because we need to get more consistent pressure in the backfield, and that's tackles for loss against the run game. So we'll see what they do with that. You could carry the IPP on the practice squad in the regular season, so 17, not 16. Yeah, you could. Yeah, I wouldn't assume Hassanin goes to the practice squad. I would assume he makes the 53, depending on everything going right. So I don't know. Yeah, but I know I did think you couldn't use the IPP on the main roster. That would be cheating. So I do appreciate our clear anti-complacency theme this off-season. I would hope so. I think we just get back to our roots, just play tough football, but just you can go out there. We are a very talented football team, and I think sometimes we worry too much about the strength of our opponent and we give our opponent too much credit. We've got to understand we are a great football team, and when we play good football, there is not a team in this league who can deal with us, and I will die on that hill. We are that good. We are that good. When we're playing our A game and we're healthy, there is no team in this league who we can't beat. So we should not be scared whatsoever. We should relish it, and we should go out there and we need to show what we were all about. Grandize a bit comments in there. Lions draft and the Jags were my two worst. Fair enough. I know a lot of people didn't like the Jags one. I didn't think it was that bad, but again, these things. At the end of the day, we can't grade these drafts for 3 years. We can do our initial things on them, but until 3 years are passed, we can't properly grade what it's going to be. Rams was the biggest eyebrow raiser. It was. Rams to me was smart. The QB, Matthew, had injury concerns. I don't like Ty Simpson. I don't like one-year starters in college. And he wasn't a very good starter in college. I don't care how much Dan Orlovsky tries to butter him up. I watched the Alabama team plenty last year, and when the playoffs came, he shrunk. He's not played enough football, and he's going to be backing up Matthew Stafford. He's not going to be getting real game snaps, so I just don't like one-year starters in college coming up to the NFL. He should have stayed. He should have done another year. But he came up because it was a weak class and he could get more money going in the first round. People say Fernando Mendoza would not have been a number 1 overall pick in a good quarterback draft class, but Ty Simpson wouldn't have sniffed days 1 or 2 in a good quarterback class. That's how big the difference we're talking here, because Mendoza's superior to him. So he just took advantage of a weak class and came in and got it. So I don't rate it at all. Really, I don't. I just don't think he's that good. You know, he proper froze when they played Indiana. Indiana destroyed him and that offense, and he did nothing. But during the season, he wasn't that impressive to me either. So, yeah. From what I've heard on the Hawks Nest, they got the running back they wanted all along. I don't know, I guess. I wasn't a fan of Jadarian Love. I just think you could have left that pick for a while. But I defer to the guys who know the Seahawks better. They got a very passionate, knowledgeable fan base. Nick Singleton on the Titans could be a game changer, yes, as a returner and a running back. People forget, like, Nick Singleton's been a starting running back his entire career, but he is also a dangerous returner. So there are many ways they could use him. Like, he'll make his impact on returns right away, providing the injury heals up right. But I think he will be fine. But I agree, Nick Singleton could be great for them. And whichever host who got their draft wrong has to go over the other hosts and clean their yard. Half of us have never even met one another, so we can't go over to each other's houses like that. I've only ever met Matt of our podcast hosts. I've never met Ash, Ryan, Tom. I've not met any of them. And I've podcasted with Ryan for 5 years now. We should probably meet at some stage. We probably will at the Arizona State game this year when Arizona State come down. But yeah, we've not met. We have not met. It's crazy. We've been podcasting together for 5 years and we've never met in person. So it just shows you how good we are together. The fact that we've never met in person and we still get on this well. Penny has a big season ahead if he's moving to the left side. Could cement himself as the best tackle in the NFL. Yes, agreed. He's played there before. I think he's so good he will just take that position change easy. He did it for Oregon. And just some players are too talented to fail. And Penny will be that. But yeah, he is. And like his value on his contract is insanely low right now. Like we've got to take advantage while we can. Because Penny's next contract's going to be a lot bigger. A hell of a lot bigger. Right now, Penny's one of the best value deals in the league, and especially if he's at left tackle. It will be crazy. He was so young when he got here too. Yeah, he is. He's got another 10 years in the league easy. If he's not injured, Penny goes to the Hall of Fame. Period. Like, he's already halfway there. By NFL Monitor scores, which are not final, the be-all and end-all, but they're pretty accurate. He is already about halfway there to the average tackle score on the NFL Monitor. And he's not even halfway through his career yet. And if we win a Super Bowl, like Super Bowls and stuff work big for the Monitor. So if he wins a Super Bowl as well, and he keeps being an All-Pro every year, which he probably will be, like, he could be a Hall of Famer within 3 or 4 years' time, and he won't even be 30, so that's just how crazy his ceiling is. I consider Reed a black hole. Fair enough. Yeah, Reed, year one. Not what we expected. But, again, injuries played a role with Reed. He wasn't, just... Like, I felt he was getting really good, and then he got injured. He missed a month. I think it was about a month. He came back. He didn't look right. I think they rushed him back because of all the injuries we had. Hence why I don't think he had a good end to the year. But Reed showed enough, but he needs to stay healthy. Go watch some Jeffrey Simmons highlights as an IDL. He's so good. Yeah, I love Jeffrey Simmons. He's one of those. You just watch him and you love. He's a guy you love to watch. But I agree, he's a great player. Yeah, draft. Everyone has different opinions about drafts. A lot of people who know tons about college players will view them differently to people who don't. People who, fans of teams, all that. Again, we've got to wait 3 years. None of these ratings mean anything right now. Every class could bust because every player gets injured, or, what is a bad class could be a great one. So, we've just got to play the waiting game. Yeah, everything is purely opinions, Attila. You are right. If I'm far behind on comments, I apologise. It's just, I scroll through them as I go, so... Ash has turned into Charles Dickens. We don't do things by halves here, Grandizer. That's why you love us. We're so in-depth with our reviews and stuff. People don't realise, being British, we have to work harder at this, because, to gain your respect, we have to work harder. That's why we put so much effort into what we do, because we have to be better. We're not naturally American, so people don't give us as much time as they. So maybe it's worked for the not so good in the long run, but that's why our podcasts are long. That's why we're very informed with what we do, because we have to be. We have to work very hard at this to gain our few followers that we have. So just try to be logical and step back when you look at it. Remember, we know 1% of what Brad and this lazy scouting knows. I mean, yeah. We don't know about these guys and what they are yet. And we don't know how they're going to deploy them, so, I have a lot of opinions after the draft because I watch college prospects all year round, but I calm down and, we wait and see the process. I would like another tight end like Darren Waller. I don't think the tight end room's done. If you could... There are 2 positions I want to strengthen by the time we get to training camp and by the time we get to the season. Tight end is one of them, and... running back is the other. I don't think we're good enough at running back or tight end right now. Outside of Laporta and Gibbs, obviously. I was disappointed we didn't take a running back in the draft or really invest in one of the better UDFAs. And, I know we've got Jabari Small and Kai Robichaux and bits like that knocking round, but I would really... Because I think Pacheco's going to be a one-year guy. Even if Pacheco has a good year by times, we're not going to be able to afford to pay him next year. So you need that third guy, and I don't think Varkey's it. So I want to get another running back in. I want to get another tight end in before the season starts, because I'm not comfortable with how the rooms look right now. So yeah, I'm with you. I would like another tight end. I would preferably like a blocking tight end better, because Conklin is not a blocker, Brock Wright is not a blocker, and Sam Laporta can't do everything on this team. Whether you bring in Zach Horton and use him instead, maybe, but I would much prefer a specialist blocking tight end in, especially as we're going to use a lot of 2 tight end sets with Petzing, and we don't have good enough blockers at tight end, in my opinion. So maybe not like Waller. I would like someone who is a good blocker, who has receiving upside to them, rather than the other way round. But yeah, I would like to add to the tight end room. Still, Borgonzi is the GM of the Titans. He is. Some of these day 1 or 2 picks won't even be in the NFL, and some UDFAs will be Pro Bowlers. Absolutely, that is the way that it works. The Titans have former GM of the year for the Raiders. They do. Bama was not good last year. No run game, no real good receivers. Simpson did decent. Yeah, I mean, it's, for me, Bama had a good team last year. Oh, they've got good parts there. They're just struggling to adapt to Kalen DeBoer right now. There is no lack of talent on that team. You got Ryan Williams, he's a double-barreled name now, but you got one of the best receivers in the country there. You had Isaiah Horton, who was a star for you. You had some good weapons last year. You've had a first-round NFL draft pick at your left tackle. You've got a future first-round NFL draft pick at right tackle. Parker Brailsford was one of the better centres in college, so, I think you had good parts there. I don't think Ty Simpson gets off with the Alabama were a trash team last year. There was plenty of talent there, they just didn't use it. Isn't... Waxo goes, fine, I'll play tight end for the Lions. Go for it. You've got our backing. If you put on the Honolulu Blue, we will back you to the end. Attila goes, my fire takes Varkey and Tesla will break out on offense and Onwuzurike and Rakestraw on defense. Attila, if that happens, we are in dreamland, because I have no expectations outside of Tesla for any of them right now. That is the trouble. Like, all these guys were bought in to contribute and they're not at the moment. Varkey, Manu, guys like that should be contributing more at the end of year 2. Certainly going into year 3, they should have their roster spots locked down, and neither of them do. So if they come good, then great. But I hope your fire hot takes come true. I do. I hope every player plays well. If Levi could become good again, then that solves so many issues for us, but we'll have to wait and see. Rakestraw, he's not played in 3 years. The odds are against him. Very few players don't play for 3 years and then come back and prove people wrong. If he does, great, but I'm going with history on this one. I think he's going to struggle, but we will see. Is it Kendrick Law our running back? Yeah, whoever, I think it might have been you, Attila, last week who mentioned that. I got really giddy at the thought of Kendrick Law playing running back, and I am so excited about that prospect now that I've talked myself into it. Kendrick Law and Jahmyr Gibbs as 2 running back sets, both pass catchers, both nasty after the catch, loads of yak. Drew Petzing could have so much fun with that. I want to see it this year in practice. Both Alabama and Kentucky used him as a running back. And yes, it wasn't many carries. It was probably as many carries as Varkey had in his career. And everyone seems to think Varkey can do it, so there's no reason Kendrick Law can't. But I am obscenely excited at the thought of Kendrick Law and Jahmyr Gibbs working as 2 running back sets for the Lions, because you can just go nuts. Because if you can establish Kendrick Law as a viable threat with the ball in his hands as a running back, then what the hell is a defensive coordinator going to do when he sees them two lining up in the backfield? You can't afford to leave lax coverage on Jameer, but you can't afford to let Kendrick Law get going, because Kendrick Law has more yards after contact than rushing yards in college. It's like he's got like 500 yards after the catch out of 600 receiving. As a running back and as a receiver, the man is built for contact and getting yards after getting hit. So, yes, if that was you, Attila, you have just, I'm so excited about that. And when they don't do it, it's like Ash's obsession with having Aleem McNeil on as a quarterback, as a running back having him as a running back, Collegiate teams do that. They bring in defensive tackles as running back on the 1 yard line to get it in. But Ash is obsessed with that. I am now obsessed with the 2-back set with Kendrick Law, so well done for that. I like Pacheco. He's been a winner and he can block. I like Pacheco. It's just the injury's going to get it in. But he's in a good position here. In an ideal world, Jahmyr Gibbs takes a lot of the snaps. Pacheco is the rotational guy behind him, and we can manage the injuries and we can put him in better situations. So I do think Pacheco will have a good year, but if he does, we can't pay him, so we kind of a loss with that. But he's fine for now. I would just have liked a third running back, like a legitimate one, like a Seth McGowan, that in 12 months he would take over from Pacheco, and there's your 1-2 punch for the future. But I do like Pacheco. I think a lot of people are way too harsh on him. He was really good in his first couple of years, and injuries have just hampered him back. And I don't think the Chiefs' scheme has been good for running backs. I really don't. That line has not been good. The scheme has not been good. It's not really set up for the running backs to succeed. I like Will Disley, potentially. Set at defensive back. Thoughts on Donovan Wilson? Not sure if he is a character fit. Again, when it comes to character traits and everything like that, I think our room is strong enough to take on a few wayward souls, as they were. I think he would be fine. I would like to see, potentially, we'll see. I think there's a lot more to be had from him. He's shown he can do it. I wouldn't mind if he's here. I don't think we're set at DB right now because of the injuries. And, lack of certainty in the future. Obviously, having guys like Izzian and that in helps, but I'm still not averse to giving the DB room a little bit more juice in it. Also more competition for some of the roster guys to have to step up a little bit. Especially safety. I love Thomas Harper. I think he'll be great. Outside of that, I think the rest of them are going to have to fight for their spots. Dan Jackson will obviously be back this year fighting for a spot. I don't know if it makes the roster. It's uber competitive right now, but you would like another veteran in there, ideally. I know Izzian technically classifies as one, but you know what I mean, an older veteran. But yeah, we're not set a defensive back yet in terms of depth. But as starters, I think potentially when everyone's healthy, we are. Lions UDFA list, yeah, all the UDFAs are there. There's no updates to it. It's the same as it was. Hunter is the standout to make it for me, but some of the others might. Eric Hunter will be a top 5 linebacker from this class. Love that. I think he will. Put it this way, Eric Hunter has the skill set to be a top 5 linebacker from this class, because he can be a coverage linebacker, and coverage linebackers are like gold dust in the NFL now. Everybody wants one, and you are a much better team if you have a good one, because of the evolution of tight ends and running backs and how they run routes and stuff now. Coverage linebackers are more critical than ever, and we have really struggled with it over the years. So, and linebacker is a position we have traditionally developed very well. If not for his injury, Malcolm would be a great part of this rotation right now. Jack Campbell's become one of the best in the league. It's a position we have... And Anzalone went from journeyman at New Orleans to one of the most pivotal players we've had in this rebuild. I trust our linebacker development better than any other room on this team. So Hunter's got the best opportunity for me, because he's got the best coaches. And the coaches are not afraid to play rookies and UDFAs and Day 3 guys who play well. They're not scared to do it. They will throw them in and let them swim. Can Manu play tight end? I don't know, maybe. I think Manu's done for. He'd probably go as tackle 4 but I don't think you'll see him much this year, unless with Petsing they like to use 6-man big jumbo packages, but I would expect Boreham and Miller to be in for those. But, you know, maybe they drafted him as an athlete, so who knows? He has the athletic profile to probably get away as a big blocking tight end. So, could be something to mull over. I don't think they'll give up on him just yet. Contrapaston goes, expecting more starters in the preseason. I hope it's not more than a couple of series. Agreed. I want to see him. Not much, but I want to see him, especially the O-line. I would like a couple of quarters out of the O-line. For me, nothing. You've got to give them time to gel. New reposition left tackle, unsecure left guard, a 1-year starter at centre. Tate's just going into year 2, and you're going to have a rookie or a new right tackle in. You're going to have a new right tackle regardless. You've got to give them some in-game reps to develop together and get the kinks out the system. I don't want to be doing it against Green Bay in week 1. I would rather do it against someone in the preseason. If they get hurt, fine, we've got some depth. That is just what we have to deal with, but we've got to start better next year. We cannot start slow. We've got to establish the offensive line early, get some wins under the belt. We can't afford to start slow in the first month. So, I want to see a bit more of them there. Question from Grandizer. And was there a Lions news article that caught you this week that you wanted to address today? One that deserved your attention? Point out to the fans of that news. Was there? We mentioned about Pride of Detroit's thing about the biggest star on the team. I guess it was newsworthy in a way, but was there anything that caught my attention? Let me have a little look. I don't think so. Because obviously we're going into the off-season now, and there's not a lot of news knocking around at the minute. We're not doing rookie minicamp or out like that, so we're kind of in a black hole for news at this moment in time. I don't think there's much on there that I wanted to go through. Obviously they've done some interviews and stuff today, Petsin and whatnot. No, I think there's just a lot of opinion pieces out there right now, and nothing news-wise really. You know, Brad mentioning about the line's been better than ever. Potentially there's a little bit there, but I don't think there was anything out there. Not right now. No. So. Again, there's not a lot of news going around at this time, Grandizer. We've really settled into off-season period right now with Lions, and again, with no camps or anything coming up, so nothing I think I want to address. If there's any news stories you've seen, just put them in the comments. I will address them. I might have forgot something, but I've got off my chest what I want to, I think, for now. DC Smithers goes, I still think Kendrick Law is a receiver who only occasionally lines up in the backfield, good for blocking out of 11 personnel. Oh yeah, I'm not saying we make him a full-time running back. Don't get me wrong. I'm thinking more gadget guy. Like this is not permanent move. This is us using 2 running back sets with Kendrick Law when we need to. Because obviously we never run 2 running back sets ever. We could have kept Monty here if we'd done it more. We had a massive aversion to it. I don't know why. We've got the guys who can. This is purely a specialist play type thing to deploy every now and then. I'm not suggesting we move him entirely, but I do think he has the skill set to work as an option in a 2 running back set. Pacheco doesn't for me. Pacheco's more of a thumper who loves to run the ball. I'm not sure the receiving skill's there for him. Kendrick Law does. Hell, Varkey might. I'm not holding on my hopes for him, but he could. I would just like to see us be a bit more inventive. Like, that's one thing Petson's got to do this year. Yes, he likes his heavy-set personnel. He likes to run the ball. He likes to do it the old-fashioned way. But we really missed Ben's innovative nature last year. And we have a lot of dynamic playmakers. And we don't do enough with them. So we need to be more... While sticking true to our roots, we need to be more innovative this year, as we were with Ben. So I would like us to be able to do that. So yeah, Kendrick Law, not all the time, but I think get him as many snaps as you can, because that'll be the best way to develop him. And you can always move him out the backfield, use him on screens, put him into 3 receiver sets. He's so good. So I think, you just make the best at your disposal. Because we didn't really use Raymond. We didn't use him to the fullest of his potential. So I would like us to do it with Law this year. But we've got a lot of mouths to feed, so I can understand why it might not happen. It's not allowed the locker room being strong enough. The real preference is that Campbell doesn't want the aggro of dealing with characters. Well, he's a head coach in the NFL. He's going to have to deal with character issues, regardless. If Dan's doing that, if Dan doesn't want to deal with problem players, that is a problem. He should be able to deal with them. And some places are good at taking problem players and turning them good. I would like us to be one of those. I don't want us to be the one that any of the slightest character concerns, we just rule them out. We've got to be careful with it. They've done great with some of the guys on the roster here. They've guided them in the right direction, got them to where they want to. So, I don't think we need to be so cut and dry about it. I think there's shades of grey. I don't know how bad his issues are with Donovan Wilson. I don't know if they're terrible but I would at least give him a shot, and we'll see there. But I would think the locker room would, strong locker rooms help beat out bad character. So I think we have a strong enough one to help. It's not like we've got a cancerous locker room where it'll just fester. So that's my only thing with that. Any predictions on post-June the 1st cuts, camp cuts, possible trades the Lions would be interested in terms of players in or out? I don't think there's any players on the roster who we would trade out. I'm almost certain we wouldn't, because we're in a Super Bowl window. You don't trade talent away. Trading players in, I would have to look. I've not done my 53 yet. But I assume there are options out there, but I like to wait until roster cut downs and stuff to have a look at this, because roster cut downs, you can get some really good talent. I wouldn't be trading for anyone yet. So not right now. We'll wait till you're in camp first and then see what you need. So I don't think there's any cuts left on the roster. I think the ones most in danger are the 2024 draft class. I think they could be the surprise cuts. They're in danger. Rakestraw's in danger. Varkey's in danger. Manu's in danger. I would bet my bottom dollar that at least one of those doesn't make it this year, or ends up on the practice squad if you can sneak them through, or you're going to take that risk. Maybe that's a cut that's made that people won't expect. I think in terms of cap, no. I don't think there's no contracts out there that make sense to cut with post-June designations or anything like that. Taylor Decker would have been the one, but that's not applicable anymore because he's not here. All our other big contracts are players who are going to be here for a long time. There's no bad contracts on the roster at the minute. I think in terms of cuts, I think you'll see someone from the 24 class go. Certainly. But yeah, we will check about trades in, because again, I don't know who's on the market either right now. A lot of teams, when you've got 90 players, you don't make decisions on players for a while. No one's out of disfavour yet, so it's hard to gauge who's on the market and who's not. So I would just leave it as it is for the time being. I'll be relieved when we get Jack's extension done. Pod mentioned it in jest, and I don't think it means anything, but Jack's not been pictured at practice since the 23rd of April prior to his option decision. I don't... well, again, there's no mini camps or anything like that for now, so I don't think it means much. I mean, it's the same with Jameer right now. It's how much do you pay him? And how much are they asking? There is a ceiling. There is a ceiling for both Jack and Jameer as to how much I'm comfortable giving them. But I don't think it should matter. Like, our team has a proven track record of paying its guys. I don't think you're going to see any holdouts or anything like that. They've clearly invested in Jack, and they're going to keep him around for a long time. I wouldn't worry about it too much. There's no mandatory practice right now, and as we've seen with rookie minicamp, with the number of OTAs, we're not taking the maximum number of OTAs days. they're trying to manage the team through the off-season and minimise injury to them. So it would not surprise me if a few of the guys just take a bit of time off and then come back when mandatory camp starts and whatnot. So I'm not worried about that right now. Like, let the roster heal. They don't need to be practicing straight away right now. So, but obviously, yeah, we'll feel better when the deals are done. But part of me is concerned about how big they're gonna be. Like, Breece Hall just got 15 million average per year today. Like, I don't want Jahmyr Gibbs getting 22, 23 million a year when Breece Hall's getting 15. Jahmyr Gibbs is better than Breece Hall, but he's not 8 million a year better than Breece Hall. So hopefully we don't go too high with that, or we don't go too crazy with the guarantee. Jack's going to get a massive deal regardless, but I would hope we can get something a little more team friendly from him. Because we got a lot of big contracts on the books and we can't afford to pay anybody. We can't afford to pay everybody, sorry. And you'll have contract renegotiations coming up soon as well. You know, you've got 4 players to pay from this class. Looking at the bigger contracts again, Penny, you are looking at this time next year, Penny will have 2 years left on his deal. Only have 2. He's got 4 years left on that deal now, but in 2 years you're probably paying Penny again. If he moves to left tackle this year and does really well, you're probably looking at a renegotiation at some point. So you're going to have to redo him. Because again, some of these contracts we handed out right at the beginning are now starting to come to fruition. Amon-Ra, when this season's done, he will be down to his last 2 years and the guaranteed money starts to dry up. So you've got to give him a new deal as well. You will get more guaranteed because, you know, I think the vast majority of his guaranteed is done after this year, Amon-Ra's. So, again, it's not just the rookies now, it's the first tranche of rookies that you paid that you're going to start getting into. So you've got to be careful with it. And they've both got a ceiling, but I think Jack will get done eventually. I would not worry. There is a lot of time to go. We're in no rush. We've got options on them. We can tag them. We can keep them here for years, even if it's against their will. We are not in danger of losing any of them to free agency. Oh my lord. I've further behind than I thought. And forward down the field indeed. Lisa's in the building. Hope you are good, Lisa. Good to see you. On other teams, players on other teams. I'll think about that, Attila. We'll think about players we can trade for on other teams. But yeah, I don't think anything major cut-wise is going to come from us. Bought some of that class from a couple of years ago. Ant likes his defense to display a bit of the old ultra-violence. Right. I love the old ultra-violence. No, I don't. I love technique. I like guys who can hit hard, but you all know me. I value technique over everything. I like defensive tackles with good technique. I like edge rushers with good technique. I'm not about the ultra-violence. I'm about the technicians. That's what I'm all about. And if they can hit hard in the process, fine. I like a safety who can, you know, level a light post. But yeah, ultra violence. But I like my technique as well. I'm not a heathen, as they say. There is a little bit of class to me. I have seen photos within the last week of Jack, unless I'm wrong. I've not really seen much, but again, given that they've scaled training back, I wouldn't worry that no one's there. I wouldn't worry about anybody right now. Let them have some time off. Let them heal. There is a lot of time till preseason starts. There is a lot of time, so I would not worry. The only people who will be talking about that now are all the naysayers who are trying to scaremonger everybody. There's nothing to be scared of right now. Like, nothing at all. Someone mentioned there was an 85% chance of Jack getting his extension done before camp. Possibly. I would think so. You would think at least one of them will be done. One of Jack or Jahmyr will be done sooner rather than later. And then I think they will leave Sam and Brian until they're playing next year and they've shown their injuries are over them. And they'll do them in season. But yeah, I would not be surprised if both of them were done by camp, to be fair. Get your pieces locked up. No drama, no nothing. You can go to camp and get your work done. Attila the Hun. Czar Fraser, HBCU player, cut by the Bears. Any good? Was Czar Fraser a HBCU player? He was from UTSA, no? Unless he played for a HBCU beforehand. I could be wrong. Give me a moment. But I am 99% sure he was a road runner. Or he might have just have ended up there. I quite like my UTSA prospects. There will probably be a time I will stand for him because he played for UTSA. No, he was a UTSA player. They were just in the CUSA when he started there. They moved to the American whilst he was there. I think he'd be a fun player to bring in. I've not really watched his NFL career thus far, but I remember he was good. He was there when UTSA won back-to-back championships and then got to the final of... They won the CUSA twice in a row, and then they got to the American Championship game the first year they went up, and he was part of two of those teams. So I think he would be intriguing to bring in, but I've got the memories of him from college, not what he's done in NFL. So we'll see. But as a camp body, maybe. I wouldn't mind. But I like my UTSA Roadrunners, so, I would never say no to one of those. In Arizona, driving to California. Drive safe, Lisa. That's a bit of a drive, but... well, no, I guess it's not. I guess it is. I don't know. This is such a small country. Your distances over there are huge. It's 800 miles from one side of our country to the other. That's probably the distance between you and Cali, so... but yeah, drive safe, Lisa. Will the Lions really trade for other players given they avoided using future picks in this draft? I don't think so. I think if the right player's there, they would. Again, it depends on what ownership and what the high command are thinking, because expectations are changing now, and Dan and Brad are not going to have a window forever to win. Sheila will eventually, Sheila doesn't stand for, not reaching the level she expects. So our expectations are changing now. You wouldn't trade for people in the early years because you've not got a roster to compete. So of course you're not going to do that. But now, I'm not so sure. You're entering year 6. You're 2 years removed from that championship game and a playoff win. Expectations are different now. You're expected to get back to the playoffs. Now, do we have a need big enough that we need to make a big trade in the off-season? I don't think so. But if you're gonna, if a tight end or a good running back or something becomes available and might just push you over the edge a little bit, I think you could, because we need to... I don't like to use the term win now, but for me, this is a massive year for the Lions. 2 years removed from a playoff win, you cannot go 3 years without a playoff win, because then grit culture comes into question. The fundamental message of this team comes into question, and I think the players would start questioning it at that point if you cannot get over the hump in 3 years with this roster. So for me, it's a very big year for them, and they've, if they can make some minor trades that can shore up the depth, which would ensure that we could get further, I would absolutely do it, and I think they would as well. But they might not think I don't think they're on a hot seat. I don't think they're under too much pressure right now, but I don't know what they're thinking. So maybe they might think they are, and they might use some more of those draft picks, because, we've got to get there eventually. We can't just keep relying on draft classes to get us there. So it all depends on what they feel is the urgency to get to where they want to. But if the right player's there, for me, I'd trade for them. With the roster we've got, I don't care about draft picks as much now. I think we're in a position where we've got so many great draft picks on this roster already, we just need to flesh it out. So if the right guy's there, I would trade for him. Whether Dan and Brad would or not, I don't know. But from my personal point of view, I think we would. And I think we need to. If, again, the right guy's available. If he's not, then no. Long drive to Northern Cal. 2,800 miles. That is nuts. That is like us driving to Eastern Europe from here. Like I could probably get to Prague from here, which would be a fun drive, but it's a very long one. So yeah, your distances are amazing, but I guess you've got highways where you can just stick the foot down and go nuts. So, but yeah, arrive safely. So hope you keep well. Right. Oh my lord, these pass so quick. I so much enjoy doing these Friday night Q&As, but they pass so quickly. We're an hour and 50 already, so we usually go about 2 hours per se. So about another 10-15 minutes or so. It probably is to Russia. Not in a direct line, because we'd have to go to Northern Europe and then across, but you would get quite far out. But obviously we don't want to go to Russia right now, because I don't want to be blown up, so, you know, we've got to be careful. But yeah, you would get out to Eastern Europe easy on that, which is an insane distance. That feels like another world to me from here, but I guess to you guys it's a lot shorter. But yeah, as I say, I'm probably going to go about another 15 minutes, I reckon. If we go longer, great. But yeah, just get your questions in. Anything else you want to ask me before I get out of here, then please do so. It's 2 in the morning here, but I do not mind. I enjoy doing these, so I don't mind staying up a little later. I know you've mentioned about Stanford mile marker. I will do the work on Stanford in depth as we go. I think for now, I don't have too much for you. But we will see. I do know there was one thing, because I follow a lot of draft guys on Twitter, and I know there is a lot of chatter about their left tackle this year, potentially been a first rounder, next year. Nicky Prongos, or Prongos, I would say Prongos is his name, but he was a UCLA transfer last year, but he's a big man. He's like 6'8", 320 pounds, but had a good year last year. He's very well regarded as one of the better pass protectors coming into next year's draft. But Stanford are a horrible team at running the football, so his running blocking is not very good. But I think there are pieces on that Stanford team this year. But yeah, look at Prongos at left tackle. But I will do more in depth for you as the season goes on. Like they need a good quarterback first and foremost. I've no idea what they're doing there this year, but the quarterback play, the running back play, everything has just been really subpar these last couple of years. So it's not been a great time to be a Cards fan, but they've got a really good young running back though, Micah Ford. I do know that much. There's a few good players on there. I think that's what it'll be this year. Some individually very good talents, but as a team, maybe not a great deal. But I've taken it into account, Grandad. Oh god, my screen's gone. Sorry, I'm back. Blue screen. Where were we? I don't know why that happens. Stanford, what is the furthest place you have been? Oh, good question. Where is the furthest place I've been from here? I've not left Europe. I've been to... oh, God, where would be the furthest geographically? Probably Malta. Malta to the south. Prague to the east. And then Reykjavik up north. But Iceland's quite close to us. It's only a couple of hours away, so... Malta's probably the furthest. It's about 4.5 hours away from here by plane. So again, in the grand scheme of Americans, not very far. But I've travelled a lot of Europe, but I've not been out of it yet. Money and time, and I travel on my own, so it's harder to do when you travel on your own. I do have one friend I travel with, but hopefully next year it'll be Detroit. We'll be coming across to America, so... but yeah, Malta's probably it for now. But I do love to travel, so there we go. But yeah, sorry about the blue screen of death. Don't know what happened there. Iceland and Malta are both great holidays. I love Iceland. Iceland is my second home. I've been there 6 times. It is my favourite country on the planet, by far. I absolutely love it. I go as many years as I can, and I will never get bored of going there, ever. I like the cold. And it's a beautiful country as well, and the people are amazing, so I have absolutely, honestly, nothing bad to say about it. It is my second home. Malta was also tremendous, though. Although I got stung by a jellyfish there, which is one of the most painful experiences I've ever had in my life. But, you know, that's why we travel. We live and we learn. Yeah, that was incredibly painful. And I am now not scared of going in the sea, but I'm very mindful of where I'm going into the sea and making sure there's nothing in there that can sting me first. So, fun story. But yeah, they are both wonderful places. Just quick yes or no is okay for this. Does Michigan make the CFP playoff this season? Oh, no. Mind you, that sounds really harsh saying no so quickly. I only say no because there are better... It depends. With there been a 16-team playoff now, it's difficult to predict. You look at the Big Ten, Oregon's better for now, Indiana's better for now, Ohio State... I feel like Ohio State's got the edge for now, but they've lost a massive chunk of that defense this year. Michigan have lost less to the draft, so I might change my mind on that. My initial instinct was no. And plus, I'm just not sure with Bryce. I don't see much about Bryce over here, but the things I do see about Bryce are not... They're concerning. I don't know whether it's just the media trying to dog on him or something like that, but the impression I get as a Brit who looks in on the news from time to time is that they're not, Bryce is not developing like they would expect him to. I could be talking out my arse, that is just what I see. But who knows? They've always got a chance. I don't know what their schedule's like this year either. Obviously with the expanded Big Ten, it's easy to get a schedule. Let's just take a look at their schedule. I'll do it quickly because, I'm here to answer all questions. But we will, of course, do a show on the Big Ten, on the college show before the season starts. But let's have a look. Let's take the non-cons out. Home schedule: Iowa, Penn State, Indiana, Michigan State, UCLA. Okay, that's not the easiest. Away at Minnesota, Rutgers, Oregon, and Ohio State. That road schedule isn't easy. Obviously, Oregon and Ohio State are going to be very tough games. So, Rutgers, you're probably going to beat Rutgers. Minnesota, I would like to think so. Minnesota are going to be a good team this year, but I don't think they'll deal with that there. It probably depends on those home games. Beating Penn State at home, beating Indiana at home. Like, you look at that schedule, and there are 4 games they could easily lose there. They're playing Oklahoma in Ann Arbor as well, so that will go towards their schedule as well. And Oklahoma have lost that defensive line, though, apart from David Stone. And they've lost a lot of that defense, so I would fancy Michigan to maybe beat them at home. But those 3 home games will be big for them. You've got to win, I think, at least 2 of those. Indiana, Oklahoma, and Penn State. And I'm a Penn State fan again now because Matt Campbell's there and Rocco Becht's there. So I'm going to be cheering Penn State this year because I'm a big Rocco Becht fan. It's going to be tough for them. I think they will be right on the bubble. 9-3, maybe 10-2 if they're lucky. Yeah, looking at that schedule, I think there's at least 2 losses there. A 2-loss team will get in. It's that home schedule. I don't know if they could win in Eugenie or in Columbus. It's that home schedule is going to be big for them. Outside of that, I don't think there's going to be much to upset them. So we'll have to see. But they could. They could. Right, viewer count is going down now. We're down to 5, so we are at 156. We've done pretty well here. I'm just going to go through the outro bits and that. If you want to slot any more questions in before I get out of here, then please do, just while I'm going through the outro stuff. So as I've mentioned, shows coming up. We'll be back on Monday. I don't know what we're doing yet because we've not got the... we've not got this week sorted for our schedule. But I'm sure we'll come up with something great. So we'll be back on Monday. The college pod will be back within the next couple of weeks. I don't know when. It's sorting the schedule out right now. It's tough to do the team previews because I'm waiting for spring training to be over for most of these and depth charts and stuff like that. So I can't do as much as I want to with them right now. So I'm hoping to start them in a few weeks' time, but we'll sort something in the meanwhile. Hoping we'll get Zach on to talk FCS football with us as well. So College Pod will be back within a few weeks, and then I'll be back next week on Friday doing this. As long as they're popular and you enjoy them during the off-season, I'll carry on doing them. So yeah, that's what we've got coming up. And as always, again, we've got a long off-season, so if there's anything you want us to do, any content you want us to cover, any guests you want us to have on, just, contact us, email, website, whatever, and we'll do it. We're looking for ideas. We've got a ton of stuff on our plate this year. We've got a lot of stuff we want to do for the pod, so yeah, hopefully we'll make it better as we go forward. We're approaching year 6 now, so yeah. 6 years of this pod. Crazy. And it's all thanks to you, so we really do appreciate it, and we need you guys to carry on doing such a good job. So did you talk about the NFL and NFL referees, the 7-year collective bargaining agreement? I did. I joked about this. I said they've come to an agreement because they've given the referees escalator pay, and the more they screw over the Detroit Lions, the more they get paid. That's how they've come to an agreement. The more national outrage that they can garner and outrage amongst the Lions fan base, the more they get paid. Like the Matt LaFleur obviously late timeout call last year, which was complete bogus, which we all got really mad at. So yeah, that I sort of had a little joke at myself that they've got a screwing the Detroit Lions escalator pay, which has made talks go smoothly for them. I say that in jest. We all know that the refs are going to screw us next year already before the season's even started. So maybe it's bad for us. Like our biggest opponent has just signed another 7-year deal. It's like knowing that Justin Jefferson's going to be around in the NFC North for the next 7 years. It's not pleasant. And you would rather them not be there, so maybe it's not a good thing for us. But in terms of the stability of the game, yes, it's great, but Detroit versus refs always, so, hopefully, I do like they've got a bench system now, so hopefully, teams start getting punished for these bad mistakes on us, and we can bench them. And we can request to the league that they be benched in bad situations. So hopefully we can eradicate some of the worst calls out of the game. Because their jobs are under threat now. Like, we do it with refs over here in the UK with football. If they make mistakes that are considered to be egregious, they will get benched or they will get demoted. They will not be able to referee the bigger games until they've served a suspension as sorts. I would like to think something similar is going to come in for the NFL refs. Like, if they make an egregious call, they get relegated to doing college football or something for a while the bench guys come in and they've got to earn their way back. So that would be... I would hope the system's a little better now in terms of accountability for refs, but, good for them getting their contracts and getting their future sorted. Really appreciate the layers of complexity you peel back. I appreciate you guys coming in and listening to me. Again, you don't have to do that. You've got a lot of Detroit-based podcasts you can listen to and a lot of better NFL experts over there to listen to. So I appreciate that you choose me for these few hours on a Friday. What's for late night din or snack? Nothing. A film. Not a film. A film? I will start watching half of a film and then I will go to bed and watch the other half tomorrow, but no food. It's too late now for food. I might treat myself to a Mountain Dew or something like that, and I've got this coffee to finish. UFL Championship game meme stream. Oh yeah, UFL's on. I've not really watched much, but apparently it's not that bad this year, so we'll have to try and get into it a little bit more. Maybe we'll have to do a spring league thing as part of our coverage during the off season. I just miss college football. I want college football back now, so I can do all that sort of stuff again. The refs celebrated by calling a PI on Arnold. See, that's funny, but it could be true at the same time. That is the terrible thing about it. It could all be true. UFOs, there we go. We don't get UFOs over here. At least they're not in lore or anything like that. Not like over there where you see lots of unidentified things in the sky. There's not really... The worst things we get in the sky over here are Chinese lanterns. That's about it. When is Charles getting around to knighting us? Hopefully soon. I would love my knighthood. Sir Antony. Sir Antony of Dronfield. That has a ring to it. I would give myself a cool name. I'd change my name. I'd give myself a cool knight name. Oh Lord, you can tell I've been going on 2 hours now, and it's 2 in the morning here. Where are we? Go on, say yeah. Refs celebrated there. Yeah, I'll have a look. When is the is it UFL Championship game already? I feel like it's only halfway through the season, but I could be wrong. Yeah, that's a new news. We've got an American football European League team in London now. So England has an NFL, not an NFL team, but we've got a Europe team now, the London Golden Knights or something like that. But I don't think we're going to watch it very much. We are very anti having a team over here in the UK. We don't want one. The Lions are our only commitment, but we do have one now. I think it would be nice to have a British college team, but that'll never happen for travel purposes and that, although it's probably closer than Hawaii is. But yeah, we technically have a new team over here now in London. The Golden Knights, I think they're called. Their logo is terrible as well. Whoever designed it shouldn't be paid for it, but yeah, it is what it is. I think we've just about covered everything. Let me check I've not missed anything. I don't think so. Excuse me. Nope, I think we're about there. So 2 hours 5, we've not done bad, but I appreciate all of you for joining me this evening. Again, these go way too quick. I want to do more of these, but I don't want to saturate it because I do so enjoy coming on and chatting in the evening. But one a week's good. We don't want to oversaturate it. It goes way too quick, but I enjoy it that much because you guys are in the building. So thank you for joining me as always. Grandizer, Lisa, Gavis Goncon, Upacorn, Venter, DC Smithers, all of you, again, we really appreciate it. But you will see me again on Monday. Until then, have a fantastic weekend. Hope everyone has a good one. Chill out, relax, enjoy. And yeah, I shall see you on the next podcast. One Pride worldwide. Take care, everybody.